Hi everyone. So in this video we're going to be looking at building out the header, which is task 1. So first things first is to start where all of our tasks and everything are. So let me just jump to the Trello board. Okay, great. So you would have had done all of these steps here. These are the ones for the GitHub and all of that, and we would start by dragging our first task, well, not our first task, but our first feature into the in progress column that there was. Okay, so just look at these instructions, know that we need to create a header that matches that design. So we've got the design over here. Ensure that you're designing mobile first, so we want to design our code so that the CSS is applied to when the page is on the mobile design, or like at mobile viewpoint. Then when you're dragging out and there's the desktop variation, that needs to be media queries that are making those changes. And then the last one is the way that people usually, for semantic reasons, they would go and lay out the nav bar. Okay, so let's just double check here. Okay, so I actually give you sort of the answer here, which I didn't want to do, but I just didn't want people to get too stuck. Is that remember our mentoring session on Flexbox and how you can change directions? This will help you with desktop media queries. And then also tell you just list style. When you use these list items here, there's going to be sort of little bullet points, and the list style is how you get rid of that. Okay, so let's get started here. I'm just going to move this to another screen. Right, so first things first is that we need to just get our page open. So I'm just going to open it, and so there's our page here. I'll drop it over there. And it's going to take that background out. Okay, great. And then inspect so that I can just make sure my window is small size, like around about there is fine. Okay, so first things first is we want to be creating our feature branch. That's the very first thing we want to be doing. So you can drag your terminal up like that. Alternatively, you can be sort of use just a terminal that's sticking out like that. Okay, so let's make sure I'm in the right folder. Cool. So I'm going to type git status. And sorry, I actually recreated this repo, so I just have to quickly do this. So I'm going to say, this is as if I was originally setting up the project. So I'm going to say git add dot git commit m, and I'm going to just say setup project initiated, and then we're going to git push. So I just need to get, I've got two-factor authentication on my GitHub account, which means that you also need to use your cell phone to log in, and then because of that, they actually give you a much longer password that you have to use. So I'm just grabbing that very quickly, so I can copy paste it in. If you use SSH, which you should be, then you don't actually have to sign in like this. That is just for this project. I didn't know if you'd got SSH set up yet, and I didn't want to run into any problems. So that's why we're doing it the HTTPS way, where you have to put the username and password. Okay, so I've pushed that. Okay, great. So now we're actually officially ready to start. Sorry about the long intro. Okay, so I'm going to clear the page, just clear the console terminal. And the first thing we're going to be doing for our tasks, very first thing we do is we create a feature branch. So we're going to say git checkout b, and then we're going to say feat/header, because that is our feature branch. So let's just have a look at where those tasks are. So here's the task here. We can see it says feature header. So what we do is we put feat/header. Towards the end of the project, I'll explain why it's called feat like that. There's actually a naming convention that we're actually doing here. So I want you to get sort of used to that. So okay, so we've checked out this branch. I'm just going to type ls, see that everything is there, and then just git status. It's going to say that we had feat header. Like, get used to this git status. You're just always going to be using it to sort of just see where you are. Okay, so we are basically ready to start now. So what I'm going to do here, for me, what I usually do is I have a look at this design, and then after a bit of practice, your brain starts to see these things. So we've actually got both the designs here, so we can sort of see how is it that we're going to sort of like, looking ahead. So I can tell that immediately we've got this logo, and then we've got our list items that go down. Then over here, I can see our list items go across. So that immediately says to me, okay, this is Flexbox with these menu items in it, and they go flex direction column, and then over here, there's flex direction row, which is just its default. And then for these items between here, the space, that can be another flex container, and we use space between so that it pushes them out. And over here, space between actually might even work as well. It's just a little bit of space there. Okay, so let's get started on this then. So here is our design. What I'm first going to do is I want to grab this logo. So I showed you guys how to do that. Or sorry, I showed everyone how to do that. So in the bottom corner here, we click export, and then we want to change it to SVG, which is scalable vector graphics. That means it uses maths. Like when you got the line tool like this in Photoshop and that, and you're doing this. This is a vector. So it's mathematics that's gone and drawn this. It's that first point is, let's just say it's at X 100 and Y 100. Then it draws using like a curve. It draws the next line to there. So that's actually drawn with mathematics, and you can scale that infinite. Whereas something like this picture of this chair, this is a raster image, which means that it's like using like actual data, like color data, to store the one pixel there, then that one pixel there. And when you make this image bigger, your computer doesn't know how to put information in those new pixels, and so then you've got a blur. Whereas your vector images aren't ever going to blur because it's drawn with mathematics. Okay, so let me just undo that, grab that. Okay, so I'm gonna just double click on this. So I've got the logo, and then I can just export logo. Okay, so I've exported it, and I'm just gonna grab it here, and then go to my project. Okay, so what I suggest you do is just create a folder called assets. And inside here, we will create another folder called images. And then I will, I was supposed to put it inside the image folder. And I don't want it to be called logo 3, I'm just going to call it logo. Okay, so we've got our logo. And we're pretty much ready to start. There's furniture, about, and contact that I'm going to need to create there. Okay, so let's just get, there we go. Okay. So first things first, before anything, I'm just going to go and just grab this logo that we got from Figma. When it comes to trying to use images or fonts or CSS, any files where you need to access a file, try not to just type it in sort of guessing where it is. Try and rely on it to show you where it needs to go. So I'm pushing tab here. Sorry, I messed it up. If it disappears, what you can usually do, let's say I messed it up, you can go back and then slash again, then it should show you again. Try and always navigate to your files like this. This is going to prevent any errors from occurring. Whereas if you just try and wing it, you can run into problems. And if it's not showing the file path and all of that, then usually there's something wrong. Like maybe you didn't actually drop it into that file path or something of the sort. Okay, so we got it in there. Then we just want to give it an alt tag for screen readers, and we're just going to say logo. I'm actually going to say Ricca logo. The name Ricca is, I just went and started Googling pretentious words, like actually the word pretentious. But this one I think is Italian for rich. I just started searching for rich because it's sort of like that really, really pretentious, expensive furniture. Okay, so we've got this image that is now added. I'm going to just move this terminal. We don't need it right now. Okay, so now you can see we've actually got this image added in there. That's great, but I think our image is going to be a little bit too big. So let's just look at the dimensions here, 114 by 38. And let's just inspect our so it's 114 by 38. Okay, so that's great. Right. So now we're actually ready. Whenever you've got a page, doesn't matter whether it's mobile or desktop, there's always typically a main container around every single thing. Now you don't see it here because it's not going to be included by like a graphics designer or your UI designer. They're not going to include a giant container around everything. But usually there would always be like this outside wrapper. Like you don't want to, like outside of this would just be the body. So for example, let's just have a look here. You can see that the body would be sort of the most outside wrapper. And we don't, like, I'm not a fan of going and putting code on your body and putting all your styling in your body. What I prefer to see is that I've actually got something like a page wrapper. So I'm just going to call it page wrapper, and then I'll just go and stick that at the end. So now we've actually got, sorry, let's get this up here. Sorry, down there. So now we've actually got this wrapper that's it's going to use for our entire page. But we need to, let me put this down. Actually, we'll split it down. We need to just sort of fix our HTML body, which we haven't done yet. So at the moment, our HTML body, as you can see here, they actually stop there. So what we actually want to do, let me just go back in case you didn't see that. So you can see it stops here. It doesn't actually span the whole page, and that's a problem. So what we're going to do is, in our HTML, we're going to go and say 100, a height of 100 view height, and a width of 100%. Okay, so now our HTML is all the way up, but I don't think our body is going to be all the way there. So you see our body is also, it hasn't actually gone the whole way. So let's do with our body as well. We're going to say, sorry, I should have done height first. Height, 100%. Because we've already got 100 view height, we should be able to just do a body of 100%. So if you see there, you can see body is 100%. Now the other thing we need to do is we just need to reset the margin on our body. And that was, I'll put it back. If you have a look, you'll see that there is a built-in. If you can see that orange, you might have to just make the video a bit bigger. You can see there's an orange around. That's just built into your browser whenever it just loads a default page. And you actually have to reset that. So that's what we're doing here. We're just resetting this margin. And now there isn't that built-in margin. Like, it's stupid. Nobody ever really wants that margin there, but it's just one of those things you got to do. Okay, so now we've got our HTML. Like our HTML is the full size, and our body is the full size of the page. Okay. Right, so the next thing we're going to do now is actually style out that header. So we're actually basically ready to start now. Right, so what I'm going to do is, I can see here, we're just going to have one main container on the outside. So I'll actually just call, this is going to be our header tag. So what you would actually just usually have is like a div like this, and that's going to be for our header. But you get the header semantic tag. And that's great. So that tells screen readers and all other types of things that this is actually meant to be a header. So the semantic tags like header, and you get also one that's like footer, and you get one that's called article, one that's main. Those are just divs. They're divs, but to things like screen readers, there's sort of some kind of meaning behind them. But they are just divs at the end of the day. You know, they're not like you get this special functionality because it's called a header. It still functions exactly like a div. It's just a div with a special semantic name. Okay, so we've got our header in here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and just call this class is equal to page header. So let's add this class in here, page header. I like to code with a lot of visual feedback. So you're going to see, like 10 when I'm often coding here, I will go and add the header in and immediately create a class that's giving me like a background of red. So I know that when I've actually gone and saved my code, and if it's not appearing there, then I know that something's actually gone wrong. So immediately now it seems like I've got a problem here where it's not loading in. Okay, there it is. Maybe just a little bit bugged. So now we've actually got our header in here. And this is going to be quite a quick one. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to say display flex, right? And then we're going to say align items. Actually, let's do justify content first, okay? So if you can remember from our flex video, justify content a longer word than align content. What I mean by that is justify content is a longer word than align. Sorry, let's just say align content. So if it's a longer word, then it means it's horizontal, and align content is therefore going to be vertical. So by justifying content center, we're going to center it in the middle of that. So that's what we're going to do here. Actually, we're not even going to do that yet. Sorry, let me think about this. So I don't think that's actually what we want to do just yet. What we actually want to have is our flex direction to be columns, so that it's going to be going down like this, and that's perfectly fine that it's doing that. Okay, so the next thing now is I want to go and start creating these menu links here. So that's what I'm going to work on now. Just in the meantime, I'm just going to disable this so that it just doesn't look so strange there. Okay, so let's go and start creating our nav bar. So the first thing we're going to do is say nav, and this will be our nav container. This is also one of the semantic tags where it's actually a div, but it's got like meaning behind it for screen readers and those type of devices. Okay, so we've got this. Now we're going to have an unordered list. And in this unordered list, we're going to have our menu items. So the first one is furniture. Then we've got about, and then we've got contact. Let's save it. Okay, so you can see that now it's actually like list items. That's perfectly fine. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to call this unordered list. I'm actually going to say, call it a class of main menu list. Okay, main menu list. So I should actually have this underneath here. Something I forgot to do is that you should possibly separate your styling like this for your different features in that, so that you know exactly where everything's going to be. Okay, so we've got this main menu list, and let's just do background of blue so we can see that is being applied. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say list style none, and then you can see now those little bullet points are gone, and now this has actually got a built-in padding or margin. You can see there, like when you're hovering over that green, so that's actually padding. Because when you've got a list style, things are usually indented. Like, you know, when you're using Microsoft Word and you create the list always gets indented. That's just general typography type, that type of style. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reset the padding, and now our padding is completely reset. So that's great. Okay, so we actually, as you can see, we're actually quite close to actually finishing this as it is here. Very close towards the end. Okay, so before I continue, I just want to grab Photoshop here so we can sort of just look at, we'll break down this task. I guess I should have done this in the beginning. In the future, I'll make sure that I break this down first for you. Okay, so I just want to grab a screenshot of this. Okay, so we'll have our main container on the outside like this, right? So there's a main container. I'm just going to have to make sure that that's transparent. So you can't really see that because of the gray. Guess we'll just have to change the color. Because we've got it as pink there. So then we've got our main container. Then over here, we're going to have our logo. And then over here, we will have our container like our nav bar, basically. So that's how you would actually break this up. It's as you can see, it's actually not that complex. It's just a matter. It's just sort of like it's a matter of time and you getting experience, so that immediately you will start spotting these things. And I promise you, it will start happening. You will look at something and you'll just be like, okay, I immediately know how to divide that up. It's just one of those things that just come with experience and time. Okay, so we sort of know how we're going to be handling that. So the next step is now we're going to be doing our flex container. So what I'll do is, so that you can just see what's going on here, I'm going to start giving things some background color. So I'll just give this one light blue. Okay, so we can see there's our header, and then this one, the main list, light coral. Okay, so what I'm going to do here with our header is that we're going to put display flex on, and then we want to actually be in a column, right? Now, what we will do, so actually maybe I went a little bit too fast there, so let me show you what's happening here. Is we want to actually have a display flex, right? And then we want it to be in a column so that the things are down. So let's just put display flex. So here you can see, this is how it should be when we've got it in our desktop version, but not in our up-down mobile version. So that's when we go to flex direction column like this. And yeah, that's where we're probably going to want to give our image the actual size that it needs to be, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And then we've got our nav menu over here. So let's handle our nav menu first. So we're going to go display flex in our nav menu. Sorry, that's not actually our nav menu. Just thinking here for a moment. No, this is fine. Actually, we're going to be doing it in our unordered list. We're going to put the flex container. Okay, so let's go and display flex. Okay, so we've got them side by side. That's 100% correct. And then we want to flex direction this column. Okay. Now we want to get them aligned along the sort of the horizontal plan, which, if you remember if the word's longer, it's justify content. So we're going to say justify content center. Okay. Now, I think I may have actually made a mistake here. This should have possibly been on the nav. So let's just try this. Oh, I messed up, sorry. Okay, so it wasn't actually justify content. So sorry. It's because that when you are changing from flex direction column to row, those axes change. So that because it's now up and down, justify content was actually applying up and down, not left and right. So sorry about that. Okay, and then the last one is that this image, we just want to make sure that it's the right size. So let's just have a look at what the original size is. It's 114 by 38. So let's go to our image. I'm just going to create a class here called logo. Let's call it logo. And it was... So I'm just going to write this in the meantime. Forgot what it's meant to be. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So it is... So it's the first number is horizontal. So it is 114 pixels by 38 pixels. And let's save that. And then we lastly have to add our class to our image. So class is equal to logo. Okay, there we go. Now this isn't aligned in the center yet. We just need to align that in the center, which is in this page header. So I'm just going to say justify content center. Oopsie, sorry, I did the same mistake again. Align items center. There we go. Okay. So we're actually looking pretty good, yeah. I actually worked the wrong way around. We didn't actually have to even do this. This was actually going to happen automatically. But so this is where we need to be. Now, the last thing we just got to do now is to add our padding, or margin or padding, whichever way you want to be looking at it. So let's add that now. Right, so if I remember correctly, when it comes to margin and padding, your margin is usually when you want to position things off the actual page, where padding is usually when you want to align things between each other. So just going by that, we'll probably just use margin to impact this to do what you need. So I'm actually going to zoom this into 100 so that it's just more accurate. Oh, come on, man. I want to go sideways. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that for now. Okay, so I just realized that I recorded a lot of the next half an hour. I didn't actually realize I hadn't clicked record, so I had to undo a bunch of things. I hope that this is where we did leave off. Okay, so we removed that align item center. It wasn't actually needed, but we do need to center our text. So what we'll do here is we'll just say text align center. Okay, so that's now centering our text. Okay, so looking at the page, yeah, the design's actually looking pretty good. So the next thing that I actually want to do is turn these. Actually, wait. Let's get Roboto in here. Okay, so to get Roboto in, very very basic. We're going to say Google Fonts Roboto, and that's immediately going to take us to where we need to go. I love Google Fonts. It's so quick. Unfortunately, it will slow your page down. And you're gonna make sure that you don't like have tons of fonts. Like you should have one or two, no more. Okay, so we want this one here. Let's just have a look at our page here. If I select this font here, or sorry, that's that link, and then I'll go to inspect. So I can go design, prototype, or inspect, and I'll go down. It shows me here that the weight is 400. Unfortunately, I can't zoom this in, so I apologize if that's a little bit too small for you, but it says weight is 400. So we know that's the one that we want. So let's go here and let's grab 400. So it gives you this link here. All you have to do is just copy that and come to your index page and paste that in. Let me get rid of that so that you can see a lot better. So it pasted this link here, and then it's this link here, and then this link here. It tries to basically do, I think it does swapping. Actually, no, I don't even think it actually does swap here. So that's imported now. So now all we have to do is just go to our body, and we just got to go and type our font family, and we want it to be Roboto. Before we do Roboto, let's just have a look at the two types of fonts. You got serif and you got sans serif. Okay, so the first one we will look at is serif. Okay, so serif is what we've actually got at the moment here. So I'm zooming in, and just by the way, I'm holding Control mouse wheel to zoom in, and then Control plus and minus, and then to reset Control 0. Don't know if I mentioned that earlier. So let's go and zoom it in. Now you can see there's these little accents. Like for example, at the top of the U, there's this accent. Those are your sans serif fonts. They've all got these sort of like little embellishments. Sorry, that's your serif font. Now sans serif means none of it. So there's no serif, and that's going to be like your Arial. You know, it's like just like your basic font as you would know, like not fancy font. So Roboto is a sans serif font. So we wanted to have a fallback of sans serif. Let's just say if something goes wrong and it doesn't load. And then in the front, we're going to have Roboto. Save it. And there we go. So now we've got Roboto. If I go and try and inspect over it, I can see it actually says there's 16 pixels Roboto. Okay. Now, we've got our fonts looking the same, but the sizes are not the same. I can see here that needs to be 22. So what we're going to do is we need to target these list items. So what the two options here we have to start adjusting these is we can either go and add a class for each of our list items, or we can target every list item inside this list. So I'd rather be doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say main menu list, and then I'm going to write LR. Now what this means is that any list item or any LR inside this class is going to get targeted by this. So we're going to type here color, let's just go blue. So now you can see that blue. It's great. Okay. So what we actually want to do is we actually want to change the font size to 22 pixels. Font size 22 pixels. There we go. So now it's actually looking like that. I'm going to go and while we're here, I'm also actually going to add a margin bottom, 20 pixels. Almost. So I think maybe 16. Even a little bit more down. Okay. So I'm kind of happy with that. There is actually a way that if you click on something and then you hold Alt and you look at something else, you can see the sizing between things. But because I went and I made the boxes too big, it's not really providing much value. Okay. So let's get rid of these colors. Okay, great. So looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. What I'm going to just do here quickly is just increase the margin here so that it's a bit bigger. Let's see if I can actually get the sizing. I can see from the top there and then to this one. What is your size there? So it's like 32 pixels, but there's that gap. That's a problem. But so I do know that it's going to probably be like 32 pixels. It's going to be like, well, wasn't meant to do that. So I do know it's like round about there. Actually, that's too big. Abort. Okay, so let's try 28. Yeah. Okay. Now, there's something that I haven't done here, and that is the links. We don't have actual menu links. These need to be menu links, so let's go back to our HTML and turn these into menu links. So I'm going to go and put an A tag, href. Before I do this, let's show what's going on here. I'm taking Alt, I'm clicking here, and then I'm holding Alt down, and I'm clicking into other spots. So now I can edit. This is called multi-line editing or multi-cursor editing. So I'm going to say href is equal to, and we're just going to put the pound sign, or what do you call that? I can't remember what people call that these days. A hashtag, there we go. Okay, so I've now created our anchor tags, but you can see now that it's actually gone and styled it to your default anchor tag. Now we don't want that. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm gonna target every single anchor tag on this page, and I'm going to remove that underline, and I'm just going to make the color inherit the color that we've already got. Okay, so first thing I do is I do text decoration. It's terrible spelling. And then I'm just going to say none, right? So text decoration allows you to do underlines and dashes and all kinds of things. So I'm going to say none. So now you can see it's disappeared. And now for the color, I actually just wanted to inherit my page's color, which is this black. So I'm going to save, and then you can see is that color. So if I actually change the color of my body to red, you'll see that it's inheriting that red. And then since while we're actually here, there's another thing is that when you've got, I was meant to do this in the design and I didn't do this. I apologize for that. When you've got black font like this, you don't want things to be completely black like this, 000, like pitch black. I think there's actually a word for it. I can't remember what it is, but this completely black is not. It doesn't. It's just the contrast is a little bit too hectic. So typically, what you would do, and I was meant to do this and I didn't, is that you would go a little bit down from there. So let's just go to like that value there and save it. Okay, so now you can't see a significant difference, but it's not going to be as sharp. Okay, so that is that. I think that we are largely done with our mobile version of the page, or basically our main sort of design. Let's actually have a look at this in all of its glory. So it's in the middle. When I zoom down, by the way, when it comes to mobile design, under 360, you get to call it quits. Your job is done. You don't need to design under 360. So this might be a bit small for you to see, but generally the rule of thumb is that under 360, if it's not doing something here, well, bro, no one cares. You don't design under 360. Maybe in the future when you've got watches and things, maybe if you were working with Apple watches or something, maybe they would give you different requirements. But typically, below 360, you don't need to care. Okay, so I'm very happy with the way that it's actually looking so far. So now let's actually start looking at the desktop variation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag that out, and let's get on it. Okay, so the breakpoint that I will be using here, and you're free to use it as well, is I think 767 is typically where at work I think that's where they like to break. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take page header, and I'm going to give it a background of light green. Okay, and I'm going to now start adding my media queries. Now you could add your media queries in this header section, or some people I think most people, they add their media queries right at the bottom here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add the media queries right at the bottom there. So what we want to do is target our page header. So let's just copy that whole thing. You know what, I'll even take the header with me. Take that with. So I'm commenting that this is media queries. And then inside our media queries, we're going to have our header portion. Okay, so there's our header portion. So just to make sure that things are working, so I'm going to say media max width. Actually, I want to say minimum width 767 pixels. Okay, so I shouldn't have done it this way. It's probably been confusing for you. So yes, we want to create a media query, and we want it to activate when our minimum width is at 767 pixels. So at 760 pixel screen width, we want this CSS to kick in. Right, so I'm actually just going to say body here, and just go and say background red. Okay, so that's it because we're at 766, and then when we get to below 766, that red is gone, as you can see. Okay, so this is get away. Okay, so this is how we are going to basically get our design to adjust to our desktop design. We're using media queries. So we've designed our pages, we've created our page mobile first, and then we're using media queries to address any other screen size variations that we have. So we don't want body here. We actually want to be targeting that header class that we had, page header. There we go. Okay, so the first one we've got that flex direction in a column. But we want it now to be sideways. So what is the answer? What we're going to change it to? Flex direction. That's correct. Row. Okay, so flex direction, row, and save it. And there we go. So now things are actually looking pretty good. But now we want these things to be on opposite sides. So what do we do here? Yeah, we can go and say justify content space between. Save it. Bam. Check that out. So we're actually looking pretty good here. Let's go and jump to this. Sorry, we can't. I have to zoom out a little bit. Okay, so I apologize. We're going to have to just go from a distance like this because of screen real estate. We're running out of space here. Okay, so Now, let's get our menu links to be sideways as well. So those ones as well, what we did there was, where is it? Main menu list. Let's grab these bad boys and pop them in here. So once again, we had flex direction column. We don't need all of this stuff in here. Okay, so this also, let's go to row. And there we go. So now we're actually looking pretty good. We haven't got our margin on the page yet. That's fine. We'll be addressing that in a moment. Actually, let's address that now. Okay, so what we want to have is some margin on the left and some margin on the right. That's all we want. So we're just gonna have some padding. So we're gonna have padding. Now you get shorthand. I forgot the terminology here. Shorthand syntax, I think it's called. I'm gonna have to just quickly check this out. Shorthand properties. Okay. Usually like something like, for example, border. I guess there's one that's like font, but that font's a bit hard to explain. So when you got margin, you get margin left and you can put a value. Then you get margin top and you can put a value. And then you get margin right and a value. And then you can get margin bottom and you put a value. Now, instead of writing all of these at like having to do it like this, you get a shorthand property. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to do margin. Right, and it's going to combine all of these. Let me get the correct order though. So it goes top, right, bottom, left. Sorry, so that's the correct order. And what you can do, is combine all of these into your one margin here. So let me hover over it. It's actually going to say. So you can see it says set the shorthand property. So what we want here is we're going to say margin top must be 0, margin right, I want it to be 20 pixels, then margin bottom must be 0. And then margin left should be 20 pixels. So now this would be the equivalent as this. That'll actually be the equivalent. But then what you can even do is you can take it a step further. You can combine the left and right, and you can combine the top and bottom. So if I go and delete these two, you can see it's the same. I can actually delete that. Now this value over here is top and bottom, and this value over here is left and right. So let's just get rid of that. Save it. Okay, so you can see now we've got our margin, but I don't like it we're using margin. I actually want to use padding. Just for example, if you ever wanted to change the background color, we'd have a problem there, wouldn't we? So remember, we also set some padding that has now got reset. Over here, when we first brought out in the mobile design, we actually had some padding at the top of the page here. Now I've actually gone and reset that padding, because I went and I actually had 0.20. So I'm actually going to have to undo this. And then I want to just go and add some top padding here. So let's go with something that resembles how it's supposed to look. I think that's round about there. Okay, so I think we're actually looking pretty good here. We need way more spacing though. So let's just go and it's there and there. Let's double it. Yeah, I think that's... So unfortunately, I can't go too big here, and inspect it properly. We're gonna have to have a look later and then just see. No, that's not enough. So let's go with way more. Usually, you can actually go, for example, like look, I could just go 71. There's your answer right now. So that's over there, 71 pixels. So we go top, right, bottom, left. So over here we want 71 pixels. But a lot of people disagree with going and having these sort of exact figures. So that's you sort of going to just try and find your own footing in that regard. So then I'm going to click this, and then see there's more than 70 here. So I'll go with like 80 maybe. Yeah, I'm happy with 80. 80 is a good number. I mean, if you live to 80, you've got to be happy with yourself. Okay, so that's that done. Sorry. Now we just need to get some spacing between our menu items, and that's quite simple because we've already got this setup here. So I'm actually just going to copy that and bring it to our media query, and then I'm just going to say we're going to want margin on the left. And there we go. So just looking at this, like what does it actually say between these two designs? Unfortunately, because I put these big boxes that aren't wrapped on the text, it doesn't give you accurate measurements. But I would say that it's almost there. So let's go with 35. Yeah. So I'm actually quite chuffed with that. Okay. So I'm going to just delete that green background. And did we still have that thing that changes it to red? No. Okay. Right. So to be honest, I'm super stoked with this. The only thing that I think I did miss here that was actually part of the tasks is our logo is supposed to be clickable. So let's go to our logo here. And we've got this image, which is our logo, right? So we need to just wrap that in an anchor tag. So I'm just going to say href, and we're just going to make it, just go to the pound sign and we'll close it there. Okay, so now it's actually clickable. And I think we are done with our task. It's looking pretty good. So before we do anything else, we're not going to go and push our code and everything. We're going to be good workers that sort of look after our code. So what we're going to do, so we don't embarrass ourselves, we're going to go to our Trello board task, and there is an acceptance criteria that you need to have passed. Your code won't be allowed to be merged in the future. Like if this was a real task, you have to match these acceptance criteria. And unfortunately, I didn't explain this in our session. I completely forgot. But so that's why there's acceptance criteria here. So I have done. I've matched the design. Like we went and we just checked it now. That it definitely matches the design. Actually, let's be thorough. If you're not thorough, then things are gonna start going wrong. Okay, so that's how it looks, and then that's how it looks there. Looking pretty good to me. Okay. Then let's go look at the next acceptance criteria. Mobile design's been done. Logo desktop design's been done. Logo links back to the website. Yes, it does. So let's just click it. Oh, sorry, that's not the page. Here we go. It just goes back to the website. Actually, what we should have actually done there is instead of this, we should have just had a slash, I think. Yeah, so that just goes back to the website now. Okay, so that's actually that task done. Let's go back. Sorry, where? Yeah. Okay, so then there's a nav containing the menu links. That's correct. There's an unordered list of menu links. That's correct. There's a nav menu is a list item. That's correct. And each tab has got the link. Great. So now it's actually done. Woohoo! Everything is 100%. You are now ready to go and submit this task to get code reviewed by your peers who will go and see if there's any problems and that you've followed best practices. So let's now go and push our code. So I'm going to type git status, and we can see here's our changes. The reason why it shows assets folders is because there's stuff inside the assets folder. So it just shows the whole folder then. So I'm going to type git, and remember we're now feature branch now. So I'm going to type git add dot git commit m, and I'm going to write a feature header. And then I'm going to push. So now we have to copy this. It's always going to say this. This will always happen the very first time you're pushing to a new branch. If I was to do something now after running this command and I just did git push, then it'll work fine. You just got to do this just this first time. Okay, so we git push. Now it's got to get my password from my password manager. And there we go. Okay, so we're not finished just yet. So here's a link that we need to go to. So it's going to copy that, Control C. But if you just go to your repo as well, you'll still see this. Or you'll still see what we're about to see right now. So you don't have to go to that particular link. You just need to go to your repo. And then at your repo, so yeah, it's taking us directly in there. But let's say if we just went to our repo, there you're going to see feed header has had recent pushes less than a minute ago. So we're going to compare and pull request. Okay, great. So now this is ready to get submitted. Now, this is where it's really important for you to write detailed messages. The first thing is that it would probably come up as this for you, feed header or something like that. Change it to feature header. Some people want this to be all lowercase, so it might actually be better to do it like that. So I'm still on the fence about that. So rather just do it all lowercase just for best practice. And then over here, this is where it's important. You need to detail your code. This is where it's going to make you stand out as a developer, is that you're going to write now what you've actually done. So I'm going to say, I've created the header designs to spec using a breakpoint at 767 pixels. Now, the exact stuff I'm writing isn't necessarily what you need to be writing. I'm just trying to bring across the point that you should be having these sort of detailed messages so that people can go back at your code and sort of see what you've done. And this also shows that you care about the work that you're doing. And I'll show you how we can even improve this in a moment. So I've got the breakpoint there. I fulfilled all AC, so that's saying I've done all of the things that I had. Those tasks that were at the bottom. You fulfilled all of the AC. That's what's important, is you fulfilled all of those acceptance criteria. Fulfilled all AC, and then I'm going to say here are the designs, or here are screenshots of the completed work. Okay, now it's not really a web development thing, but I highly recommend learning to take quick screenshots on your computer. If you're using Windows, very simple. You just push the Windows button, Shift, and then S. And then you could take a screenshot like this. I don't know if you saw the bounding box there, but it's let me basically just go and grab sort of a square like that. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go to our design that we had here. So our actual page, and I'm going to screenshot the desktop variation. And that's going to pop up here so that I can copy paste it. So I can go into my code here and I'm going to copy and paste it. So it's actually going to upload it straight from my clipboard. So I'm going to say desktop. Now desktop should have actually been last. So let's just go back and get mobile. So we get to mobile and take another screenshot. Just grab this. Now you don't have to be doing the screenshots. I'm just trying to give you like a little bit of edge to other people to make your work stand out. Oh man, stop this. Like part of this mentorship program is shouldn't just be getting by. You need to be making the internet a better place. So these are sort of things that will give you an edge when it comes to you doing your work. So I'm going to be saying here mobile, and then I'm going to copy paste that one in. Okay, so just going to change this mobile design, and then desktop design, and just click preview. So now when a person comes and looks at the task, they can see this is exactly what the work was. They don't have to even go and merge and pull branches and look at preview branches. They can immediately see the work that I've done. Okay, so I'm going to create the pull request. And you don't have to do these pictures, by the way. I'm just trying to show you just ways that you can sort of stand out. And then people could come in, they could review it, and they would actually say, unhappy with this, you need to make changes. And then what you would do then is you would make your changes, and then git add and git commit and git push, and then it will actually pop up in the exact same window. Your change will pop up over here underneath this. Right, and then we just got to merge. And that's it, done. You could delete this branch. We don't need it anymore. It's now merged into the code. So there is actually one final thing you're going to have to do here before you get started with the next task. Is you're going to need to go and check out your master or main branch. It should hopefully be on main on your computer. And then, did you see that my code disappeared here? All the styling and stuff that we had. That's because locally, our master branch hasn't got that merge. That code hasn't been merged into our local master branch. So we need to go and we need to pull our code. So this is git pull. Now we're going to pull it, and you're going to see, bam, it's gone and grabbed all of these cool new changes, and now our stuff is up to date with the online repository. So I'm just going to type git status, and there you go. Up to date with the origin master. It should be main. We don't use master anymore. It's basically last year, just because of it ends up excluding people just because of the slave and master relationship, and just as a whole, the web development communities decide that we don't want to be like that and exclude people. We want to be all inclusive, and stuff like this can be offensive to people, even if it's not offensive to you. We need to welcome everybody into the web development community. So what's happened is that this is now called main. It's just my system's a little bit outdated. Like on my laptop it's fine, but not on my main computer. But yours should be main. And so that was just a quick sort of lesson on why that is. Okay, great job. So you've actually now done your first feature branch. I'll be dropping these videos probably every day or maybe twice a day, just so that in case you are falling behind, then you can sort of catch up. And I'm sorry if it was a little bit too long. It's just I wanted to make sure that this can be as valuable as possible to you. Right, great. Have a good day. Cheers.